Alright guys, what's up? It's Jack and welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a fun little subject called the combat record, because people are already starting to talk about that, whether I see it on X or whether I see it sometimes in the comments section or sections, or whether I see it mentioned in videos or streams or something like that, or whatever it is. People are actually wanting a combat record or some sort of stat tracker. Now, I think it's safe to say, at least for me personally, the importance or the noticing of the importance of a combat record started all the way back in 2010 with Call of Duty Black Ops 1, because that is one of the best combat records, especially during that time and perhaps even ever, that has ever been developed in a game. And I will go as far as to say that I believe that it is important not just for the players who are passionate about the game and are super hardcore fans, but also for the people that are more casual, right? So, because I was a casual back then and I didn't know what I was doing. I was barely a positive KD ratio player, but I was still interested in terms of how I was doing, right? We're all interested in how we're doing. We're all about improvement. All of us by nature are competitive. Some are just less competitive. Some people are more. But whatever it is, whether we take it seriously or not, we have a little bit of a competitive bone in our bodies. Some of us have more of it, some of us have less. But at the end of the day, we're kind of interested in terms of how we're doing, right? And as well as possible feedback through the numbers in terms of what we could possibly do to get better, right? Because, for instance, let's say your score per minute's too low. It's one of two things. You're either too passive or you're just dying too much, right? So then you start to think, okay, how do I start to die less? Or, hey, maybe I should be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe I'm playing too passive or whatnot, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So there's many things that go into it. So things like accuracy, your win-loss, your kill-death ratio, your score per minute, all those things are basically the quintessentials, right? How you're using your weapon, which one you're using the most, which one you're using the least, how you're doing with that weapon, the kill death ratio and all that kind of stuff with that weapon. If I could get a score per minute and all that kind of stuff, stats per weapon, that would be badass as well. But one of the things about combat records is that you don't want to make it too in-depth, because all of a sudden it would just be, I don't know, for me personally, I would love for it to be as in-depth as it can possibly be, but I think for most people it would just be too much. I think what's important is to have the bare essentials in there. However, with this game being kind of the hybrid shooter that it is, and implementing all these different parts of all these different games, which is one of the reasons why it is as fun as it is, I think that the same needs to be applied to the combat record. I think because of all the combinations of things that this game puts in, we need to have very specific stats that should be added to the quintessentials, right? So the quintessentials, just to reiterate, are your kill death ratio, total number of kills, total number of deaths, your score per minute, your accuracy, weapons, how many kills per weapon and used, et cetera, all that stuff, right? Your win-loss, you name it, right? Those are the quintessential stats and stuff like that, right? Okay, cool. Now, when you're looking at this game, there's also something that I personally would love to see, and that is something that Sandy Ravage, back during the Black Ops 2 days, made a commentary on. Now, first of all, he suggested that there should be an option to turn off the stats, especially if everybody can see them. I don't see there being anything wrong with that, because there are people out there that just kind of, I don't know, like they just play for stats, and specifically if there's like one kind of stat or whatnot, which I can totally understand the in terms of where he's getting at with that. But at the same time, if it makes somebody a better player, it's kind of like one of those things to where it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, But anyway, but another thing that he mentioned was a score per minute stat, that kind of keeps track of just how fast you're going, and I guess it goes by the kills you get, your score, in terms of how fast you're going and all that kind of stuff. I remember him mentioning some sort of, like, the way you do it is, it's very simple. You divide something by something else. I don't remember, but he described it very simply. So that'd be pretty cool to see just how fast somebody is in this game, right? Because this game is fast. You don't have to go fast, at least not all the time, but you're on the move more often than not. That's for damn sure. So to see something that displays how fast you're actually moving would also be something that complements the score per minute indicator as well, in terms of the points of that. And also it just reinforces the fact that somebody is just, hustling their asses off. And it's also a good indicator that they also might be playing the OBJ and all that kind of stuff. And it gives you a much better idea of how what kind of player they really are. You know what I mean? Because some players won't even play the OBJ at all. I'll raise my hand right now and say right now I am definitely a very big, and I apologize for this, I'm a very big, violator of that. However, if I do see a game like Kill Confirmed, and if they add something like that in this game, that would be pretty badass. Or if you get a kill, you walk over the body, you teabag it, and then something pops up, you collect it. That'd be pretty damn cool if you ask me. Or something of that nature, right? That would be fun for me personally. But anyway, back on topic here. I think things like style kills are also very important. And as well as, I guess you can say, assist damage and damage as well. You're talking about like damage per game and then assisted damage per game. Now, why is assist damage per game so important? I'll tell you why. Because when that number increases, it tells you that you're actually going to be getting more kills and you're contributing that much more. Because like, take a game like Halo, for instance, right? I'm going to give a good example because that's one of the biggest comparisons that people are making with this game is Halo. Even though that's like only 20% true. With Halo, when you're damaging, when you're causing a lot of damage, even though you may not be getting kills, you're making it a lot easier for those other players to get those kills, which makes a difference when it comes to a win and a loss. In a game like Call of Duty, where it essentially doesn't take much to kill somebody, and assists don't really matter at all, whether it's in the competitive side of things or not. In Halo, in competitive and out of competitive, assists are a big deal. Because, getting a one shot on somebody or getting somebody weak so that way your teammate can kill them easier, is a really big deal because of how the time to kill is. Now, granted, this game's time to kill is faster than Halo's. Okay. Again, unless you're missing your shots or something like that. Other than that, if your shots are on target, you compare that to shots being on target in Halo, unless it's like a power weapon or a sniper rifle or something like that, this game's time to kill is faster than Halo's, right? But it's noticeably and significantly slower than COD's. So with that being said, assists are very important. So we're not just talking about assists, but assist damage, right? Because it's one thing when you get the number of assists, but I think assisted damage is important because you're not going to get the kill, but you're getting an assist, and you're actually getting part of that credit for that kill so far, at least from the way they're doing it in beta form. I don't know if that's a glitch or I don't know if that's kind of like the EKIA sort of thing. I'm not sure, but things like that and style kills, being able to get kills in mid-air while combining it with all the different moves like the slide, the jetpack, and then the equipment from your faction as well as the portals. You do all that kind of stuff, that's great. Killing people through portals, or not walking through a portal and killing people, or surprising somebody and sneaking up behind them and getting a kill, stuff like that. And wow, as I was recording, somebody subscribed. Thank you very much for subbing, by the way. And that's actually the first time that's ever happened. All right. So continuing on here, things like that are absolutely, I think, essential for the game. And I will say this. Obviously, you can release a very bare bones combat record. I'm not talking bare bones like XDefiant, and I'm not taking shots at XDefiant. I think XDefiant was actually going to upgrade their combat record even more in depth, but they just never had the opportunity to do so in time. And there were other things that were more important. But since this game is in a very good spot, especially being in beta and literally improving day by day, I have to say that overall they can release a version 1 of the combat record, and then the following season or something like that, they can upgrade the combat record to where they give us more in-depth stats. And it's something that they can do on a base-to-base basis. And if they do that, I think the community will be very happy about that. Let's not mention the fact that you got ranked coming sooner or later into the game. It's inevitable. And when you have all that going on, you got to have leaderboards, right? So obviously, when looking back at the days of XDefiant, most players had to rely on XDefiant Tracker in order to, even those stats were a little bit off, but and they sure as hell weren't complete either. Still kind of bare bones even for that. So with that being said, I think it's important to kind of have those very quintessential stats as well as filters by day, week, and month be included into your bare essential leaderboards. So, and then let's not forget also that because the way the weapons work in this game and how they're all viable, I think we need to have a weapon category for leaderboards. And we're not just talking about assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, and stuff like that. No, we're talking about the specific SMGs, shotguns, and rifles. Now, I know this is a big one, but honestly, when you're looking at, when you're like, let's say you're really obsessed with a weapon, with a version of a weapon in this game, and you just want to be the best that you could possibly be, like in the world with that weapon, whether it's the amount of kills, whether it's the accuracy, whether it's the score per minute, blah, 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 you name it, right? Streaks, your average streak with the weapon, right? All those stats could be accounted for, and you can literally be displayed as the #1 badass with that particular weapon. And let's not mention, from a content creation standpoint, as well as even from a competitive standpoint, because all of us have that competitive gene in us, right? Some of us have it less, some of us have it more. But as human beings, we are competitive, right? Even with things we don't take seriously, there's still a little bit of that competitiveness in us, right? That wants to improve or do better than the other person, right? Especially if we enjoy doing it, right? So therefore, it's like, okay, let's say you like a certain weapon, you take very well to it, and it feels really good, right? And you just want to grind the weapon, and you seem like you can't get enough with it, right? Kind of like the way I was with the M16 in X Defiant, or the way I was with the Magnum in Halo 5, right? Or the AN-94 in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, just to name a few weapons, right? So I think something like that needs, if you were to put that sort of in-depth leaderboard in there for weapon leaderboards, for those specific weapons with, again, streaks, score per minute, accuracy, all that stuff, guess what? I think there's something to say about that too, because to this day, I am curious, and I think the number is 100,000, but I'm curious as to how many kills I had with the M16 and X Defiant. My guess is it's somewhere around the 100,000 range, believe it or not. So, if not close to it. So yeah, I would really love for something like that to exist with this game, simply because of how the weapons work and how valuable they all are. And imagine if there was one crazy dude out there that actually managed to get #1 in every single category of leaderboards. Again, this would make for great content. This would also make for great streams. And of course, for people out there that want to be one of the best with a particular weapon, why not? So, but again, these are my opinions, and I want your opinions to be known down below when it comes to this particular subject about both the combat record as well as the leaderboards. You know what I mean? So, and again, because we have factions, we have that to take into account as well from both the combat record and the leaderboard side. So I think if we get a version 1 within season 1, and then season 2, we get version 2, et cetera, and we get like a monthly or a bi-monthly type of upgrade to the combat record till we get more and more in-depth stats, and as well as leaderboards, in-game leaderboards, I think that's something that would be great. Now, if for whatever reason they can't fit anything too fancy in there, then at least they can give us somewhere online to where we can look that up for people that are that curious. But again, these are my opinions. Some of you guys may disagree with this. Some of you guys may agree, or some of you guys might have like an idea or ideas that absolutely put mine to shame. So I would really love to hear that in the comment section. And again, this video, as well, everything in the comments could be used as communication from you guys to the devs, because the devs do watch this kind of stuff. I know that for a fact. It happened in X Defiant, so there's a possibility that it may happen again here on this channel with Splitgate 2. And with that being said, guys, I am going to call it a commentary. Let me know down in the comments section your thoughts on the matter. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd like to thank everybody for the support, and thank you all, as always, for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.